Well, as we begin Storm Watch, I want to let you know that we do have some cold temperatures to tell you about with the passage of a new frontal boundary in the lower 48, and we also have a new tropical depression in the Pacific. We'll talk more about that in just a moment, but as we begin our tropical update, I want to let you know that we have a very quiet weather pattern in the Gulf of Mexico, the Caribbean, and also in the Atlantic. So that is great news as we get started here. Now, looking at the Gulf, everything is pretty quiet. And the remnants of George now moving offshore here and becoming disconnected from the moisture feed. So that's also good news as it's out over the Gulf Stream. Not expected or anticipated to redevelop or reform once it's over the open waters. So that's great news as well. We do still have a flash flood watch in effect for northeastern Florida, but that is it. And as you look at the radar, you can see just a few showers here and there, not anything too significant. We're not even expecting severe weather across this region. So finally, we're getting a break across the southeast, and boy, don't we deserve it as cleanup efforts continue and will continue for quite some time after the havoc that George wreaked across this particular region for a couple of landfalls in the Keys and then up into the Mississippi Delta region. All right, there you can see it on our satellite vantage point how relatively quiet things are. This is what's left of George moving on out away from land. We have a little bit of a tropical wave here in the Caribbean, but it's moving back towards land, so not anticipated to develop. And along the intertropical convergence zone, we may see some development here, but it's going to take time. Some of the computer models suggest that we could see some development as this moves out into the Caribbean and eventually into the Gulf of Mexico, but that would be well into next week, so we have plenty of time to monitor the situation. Jean, remember Hurricane Jean? Well, it has become extratropical. That's it right there. It will probably bring some rain into Spain, but that's about it. All right, let's zoom in on some of these locales for you. Taking you on out into the Leeward and Windward Islands. We can see the intertropical convergence zone right in here, and somewhere in here we may find some development of a tropical wave, especially as it heads on out over the Caribbean. But otherwise, the Caribbean is looking very, very quiet, and with the exception of this little tropical wave, not a whole lot of other things going on. Okay. Gulf of Mexico quiet, and as we head on out into Mexico and the Pacific, this is our new tropical depression just to the south of Baja, California. Let's give you some specifics on this tropical depression. 12E. It is centered now about 165 miles south-southeast of Cabo San Lucas, Mexico. Winds are at 35 miles per hour. It's moving west-northwest at 5 miles per hour. So it's moving very slowly. The official forecast calls for it to continue on this track and in the next 12 hours become a tropical storm. So it will intensify before it takes a more westerly track away from land and will begin to dissipate. Okay? So that is it for the tropics. Now what's happening in the lower 48? Well, here we have our frontal boundary that is cutting on across the country and bringing with it some much colder air for you folks. And that is spelling trouble for folks in Texas because of that clash in the two air masses. Warm, moist air flowing north out of the Gulf of Mexico, colder, drier air heading southward out of Canada. So, with that said, severe weather, a distinct possibility here. As a matter of fact, in Plainview, Texas, the police department is reporting that some trees are down and some hail and heavy rain has been found across the city. And we're also looking at some problems near Tulia, Texas. Severe thunderstorm warning in effect, severe thunderstorm watch in effect until 9 o'clock local time. And as we check out the radars, you'll see that we do have some problems in this particular area, to say the least. Showers and thunderstorms possible from New Mexico on into Colorado. Denver has been in and out of the showers, and that will be the case for you right on through tonight. And you can see the rain becoming a little more prominent in New Mexico. There's a look at those big storms bearing down on Plainview, Texas, even as we speak. And look out in Amarillo. They're headed in your direction. Along I-40, we're going to see a rough commute for a lot of folks. Oklahoma City, you are not out of the line of fire. Looks like we're going to see problems in this entire area, especially west of the city. Wichita has been seeing some rain, so is Goodland, Kansas. Liberal getting some rain as well. Into the northeast, we see some scattered showers with the passage of that frontal boundary, but not anticipating rain to be the big threat. Once the front moves through, the strong gusty winds are going to be the big threat, and then we'll eventually see the cooler air move on into the picture. We'll talk more about that, of course, and Weather Center. That's coming up next after your local forecast.
There's a chill in the air as a cold front pushes through the northern half of the U.S., and it could mean stormy weather for the southern plains. A full report next on Weather Center.
Mississippi, Alabama, Florida, and Georgia causing widespread flooding there. Even though the remnants are off the East Coast and well off the East Coast right now, many rivers are still above flood here, so we're going to have to wait a couple of more days before all of Georgia's moisture finally drains out through the bayous and into the Gulf of Mexico. But this is gone, hooked up with a frontal boundary that's sitting out here over the Atlantic Ocean right in here, and no redevelopment is expected. And elsewhere in the tropics, also pretty quiet. Some showers along the ITCZ in a tropical convergence zone. But up here, there's been a persistent area of disturbed weather, otherwise known as Tropical Depression number 12E. These the latest data from the National Hurricane Center as of 8 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time, and it's not even 8 p.m. So this is the latest.
10 before the hour. Thanks for joining us here on the Weather Channel for Storm Watch. This evening we're watching severe thunderstorms develop now and then across portions of east central New Mexico, and some strong storms across Texas, Oklahoma, and Kansas. We'll show you those on radar in just a moment. But first off, our tropical update. Here's a look now at the satellite view showing generally quiet conditions across the Gulf of Mexico, the Caribbean. There are showers along the intertropical convergence zone. We'll zero in on that area in just a moment. But first off, we want to point out in this satellite view the remnant of George, which has now merged with a frontal system off the east coast of the U.S. A lot of moisture still associated with the remnant of George, but nothing likely to develop now or to regenerate. But back in the southeast, where a lot of rain was dumped by George as it was a hurricane, then a tropical storm, and then a depression, there are still rivers, creeks, and streams out of their banks. For instance, in South Alabama, the Conecuh and Escambia and Yellow Rivers, and in South Georgia at Valdosta, there is a flood warning in effect along the Withlacoochee River. The river at Valdosta expected to crest tomorrow about 3 feet above flood stage. Here's the coast of South America. These are the Lesser Antilles. Hard to see, but they are the small islands making up the Windward and Leeward Islands. And then from this point on, eastward in the Atlantic, this is the intertropical convergence zone where the trade winds coming in from the northeast and from the southeast converge, and as those winds converge, they have nowhere to go but up, and that enhances the formation of showers and thunderstorms along this region. There are likely to be some showers in store over the next couple of days for the Lesser Antilles, but we're not looking for any signs of development in this region, primarily because upper-level winds are shearing. As you can see, the very rapid movement of these high-level clouds, the high-level cirrus sweeping on off toward the north and east, that would inhibit the development of any sort of a tropical system. And as we look on toward the Caribbean, a lot of starry weather enjoyed tonight across the waters of the Caribbean. The Gulf of Mexico practically cloud-free as well. So if you are on your way toward a vacation, say in the Bahamas or anywhere around coastal sections of Florida along the Gulf Coast, no tropical system to affect you over the next couple of days for sure. Meanwhile, you can see here some thunderstorms that have fired up today in the heat of the afternoon and have been dying out during the evening over portions of Cuba, as well as Hispaniola, some thunderstorms which developed and then passed on off toward the southwest and died out. Well, not dying out, but building up is a tropical depression which has formed today. Although convection in this area, the tropical depression in the eastern Pacific, just off the coast of Mexico, has tended to weaken somewhat, as you can see, over these past hours. But according to the 8 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time advisory from the National Hurricane Center, Tropical Depression 12E, or TD-12E, was centered near latitude 20.8 north, longitude 109 west, or about 150 miles to the south-southeast of Cabo San Lucas, Mexico, the southern tip of Baja California. Maximum sustained winds still about 35 miles per hour, moving toward the west-northwest at around 3 miles per hour with a central pressure of about 107 millibars. Indications are that this depression could very well strengthen into a tropical storm over the next 12 hours or so. Should that occur, should strengthening occur, it would become Tropical Storm K, K-A-Y. And it is forecast to continue for a time its movement toward the west-northwest and then curve more toward due west. But this close to Cabo San Lucas and the southern tip of Baja, it does threaten with some winds and rain in that area should it strengthen. So we'll keep you updated.